Yo, like, subscribe, follow, giddy up.
That's my baby. I'm dying.
That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored. They did it.
Left, beat left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
That's right with it.
Welcome in, everybody. This is Birds of a Feather, only on A2D Radio, live every Thursday night. In case you're Brian Wilson and you need a refresher, we're here to refresh you. We are brought to you by our doc, make them yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill locations, and you can find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Tom Arnone, Chuck Moran, Pete Evans, Jeff Warner, the family out there join us. What is happening? No Cromer tonight. A little backed up on work stuff, so that's why we have freaking 5,000 guys on the show. You know what I mean? Always
So
like 27.
real quick, Tom, if you don't want us to work, pound that like button, hit the subscribe, turn the notifications on, spread the word. Listen, you come here anywhere on your free time. Come help your boys so we can be here more on your free time. I mean, we still want y'all to work, but to us, this isn't work. This is just breaking bread with the fam, as you were, Tom.
No, I love that. That's even a better way of doing it. It's even a better way. If you want us to quit our jobs, that's the way to do it. We'll do no huddle like we do every week. And the main topic at hand in conversation, obviously everything Eagles is on the table, but it's going to be Jalen Hurts versus this year's QB draft class. And we're going to dissect it and sort of see, where does Jalen Hurts come out? Where would he come out this year? And you have a little bit of a sample size, unlike out the rest of these quarterbacks, to really base it off of, which makes it maybe a little bit easier. Or does he drop further down? And it ties into our poll question, brought to you by bodycheckwellness.com. And you can use promo code A2D for 20% off at checkout. That's bodycheckwellness.com. There are a line of products that promote balance, recovery, and wellness by using the full potential of hemp. So gummies, extracts, topicals, blends, they got it all. Bodycheckwellness.com, promo code A2D, 20% off. The poll question, Jalen Hurts would be a first-round pick in the 2021 NFL draft. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. That's where you can find us live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Like, subscribe, follow, download. As Pete said, you want us to quit the day job? But bang, boom, hit a like. Hit a like. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell their family. Giddy up. Let's have a great conversation tonight and see where people have it. Listen, I just get mine out of the way. You guys go. I disagree. Nothing's changed for Jalen Hurts in my eyes. That's where I have him. That's where – I don't have him as a first-round grade. He wasn't a first-round grade last year, and I think honestly, I have him around a late second, third-round guy. And honestly, in this draft, just because of what's out there doesn't change my thoughts on where I rank him at. Like he's not jumping up Zach Wilson's and Trey Lance's. They're unknowns, which could be big-time franchise quarterbacks. We don't know, right? So it'd be unfair for him to jump up on, in my opinion, that high. But if you don't like any of the quarterbacks outside of Lawrence, there might be a conversation that somebody has where, hey, this guy might be a late first-round pick to some people. To me, I'll disagree. I'll say, hey, second rounder, right? Maybe not even had him. Maybe a little later than where he was. Honestly, I think that's where his value would be even this year, and that's going off a 4-game sample size. So you guys – go ahead. I've talked a ton of freaking Eagles. So,
real quick,
it is what it is with them.
Real quick, what we not finna do tonight is like low loyal is saying it's crazy how Carson was a QB. Nobody wasn't saying draft a QB, but as soon as Jalen Hurts becomes a QB, all of a sudden the draft a QB. I don't know what else racist that is. Listen, bro, you see me, right? Like this isn't no fucking filter. You see the color of my skin. Has nothing to do with that. When Carson was the QB and when he was here a week ago, we thought everybody was under pressure that Carson, if we can fix him. Last year, this leads me to my poll question. Last year, Jalen Hurts was not even thought of as a second-round QB. He was thought of a third-round and fourth-round QB. So there is no way in God's green earth that coming out of this class this year, he's a first-round QB. So I vehemently disagree to the poll. If anything, he may be a flyer, and he may be drafted in the same position in the second round, maybe a late first at best. He cannot place the ball even as good as Mac Jones can place the ball, and Mac Jones is just a pure thrower. He's not even a dual threat. You see what Trey Lance has the higher upside. You see where Zach Wilson is at. And I'll leave it there, and I'll let because I don't want to take the thunder from Jeff or Chuck's, but there's no way you could come into this and say Jalen Hurts is a first-round pick in this draft against these type of guys because they're really ready to build franchises around these guys. Maybe Trey Lance is the one question mark, but as we sit here right now, my plan for the Eagles to do at number 6 is surround Jalen Hurts with as much talent as you can to see if he's the guy. You almost have to hide Jalen Hurts in this offense for him to be a serviceable QB. If he outdoes that, then I'll be the first one to sit here and say I was wrong. But you hear the talks, you hear all the pundits saying, you hear Ray Didinger say, the people that we trust say, build the offense around this guy, give him as many offensive weapons because what you need to do is try to take the pressure off of him for doing a 5-7 step drop back and then have to make a decision with the football. That's what you don't want him to do because that's not his strong suit. So the way you do that is just put elite talent or try to put as much elite talent on the offensive side of the ball and come up with the system that's going to get the ball out of his hands. With all these guys that we're talking about in the top 4, I mean, even with Justin Fields, they're not saying that. They're saying that these guys can process and make reads on their own. They're not saying that. They're saying that they can make chicken salad out of chicken shit. We don't know if Jalen Hurts can do that. And you're the people that actually truly, quote unquote, get paid and have a voice and have a platform to do this shit are saying the same as that thing that I just said.
I'll let McNabb sleep in my bed. I check he's a black guy. So I mean, I don't know what these people out there that want to use that. Like I last time I checked, I'm a white guy, and I've been begging for anybody but a quarterback. If you draft one even in 7 rounds, you got more than 7 picks. If any one of them picks is a quarterback, all right, you should get taken to the woodshed. That's simple. So I don't know what that has to do with anything. Like this is Jalen Hurts' job to lose per se, because that's the way this organization made it. You don't have to like Jalen, you can love Jalen. So any way you slice it, it's his job to lose. The whole QB at 6 is asinine to me, right? And that's no matter who quarterback is. When you like we talked about last time, one thing I got. We had a 6 years now, Jeff, Chucks, Pete. We're gonna go quarterback again in the first or second round. That's hey Cleveland Browns, raise your hand because that's who you are.
I personally I don't want to hear any of that race stuff. We've heard enough of this race stuff in the media, thrown around it with the Wentz thing. That who was it that put that stuff out last week about the race thing?
Deadspin.
Yeah, Deadspin. I don't even want to dive into that. So enough of the race stuff. And for me, you can't say it's racial at all because I'm saying that because I'm 100% good with sticking with Hurts and giving him a chance to go, giving him a year or two to see what he can do. I'm perfectly fine with that. But if the Eagles management is not sold, the front office is not sold on Hurts, and they want to look into a QB, the guy that I'm looking at, considering the fact that Lawrence is like a guarantee not to be there, I want to go with Lance. And last time I checked, what race is Lance? Trey Lance is black, isn't he?
Right. And to be honest with you, I don't even know how we got to the fact that we're talking about we're going to draft a QB at 6 because that's not what the poll question was oriented at all. That's not the context of what we wanted to do tonight. But
it's just, I saw that comment and I'm like, stop it. It has nothing to do with the race. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. If you ball, you ball. So I'm sure we all agree with that. But in terms of the poll question, I disagree. Last year, pre-draft, I had him at a third round grade. If I'm going to put him in this draft, hypothetically, I would say that he's about fringe second and third. Agree with Tom. That's where I'd put him. I think he hasn't. I said this last week. He hasn't shown anything to dispel any of the pre-draft concerns I had, but he's shown flashes of stuff that I didn't expect him to have in terms of he's a lot more poised than I thought. and he flashes some really good accuracy when he does decide to stay in the pocket. Like some of those balls, some of those touch passes, they're really impressive. So in that I'll boost his grade up a little bit, but I can't have him as a first round pick. I just can't. But his stock would be going up if I were to put him in this draft class. So I'm going to disagree to the poll, but I do like where he's trending. But hey, it's the question still remains. I don't know if you're going to gun in my head. I don't think he has elite potential, but I would love to be proven wrong. I want him to prove me wrong, and I'm rooting for him. Such an easy kid to root for. You can't help but root for the kid. So I hope he proves me wrong. But objective analysis from me says that he just doesn't have that elite potential. But we'll see. What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, it's a clean sweep. I would say there's no way in hell he would be a first-round pick in this upcoming year's draft with the amount of talent that there is at the quarterback position and other positions as well. So he wasn't even, like you brought up before, he wasn't even highly scouted as a first-round talent last year or even a second-round talent in a lot of people's mock drafts. So the fact that the Eagles took him the second round, they kind of reached there. And I would say when I look at first-round quarterback talent, those are pro-ready quarterbacks, guys that are franchise players that can come in here and step in and play. The only reason Jalen Hurts was thrown into the fire as a starting quarterback last year is because Carson Wentz sucked in the system and the way he played last year, and everyone wanted to change and force Doug's hand to put him out there as a starter. And I would say I agree with you, Chucks. He played better and he made strides, but he's still not there. I would say even against some of these quarterbacks in this year's draft, I still don't put him higher than a lot of these guys. And I still don't put him as a first-round talent. I put him probably, like you guys said, late second, third round, maybe mid-second if a quarterback-needy team would need a guy, and some of these quarterbacks go on early on and they still need a guy. But Jalen Hurts, love him to death. He's a project, and he still has a lot of grooming and a lot of teaching that he needs to do before we ever consider him a first-round talent.
Yeah, like he needs to. I mean, none of these guys. I would think all these guys are better pocket passers than he is now, coming out of college. So, the big thing for Jalen Hurts next year is to show that growth of going from a 52% guy to maybe 57, 58. Show that growth, because the ability to make plays, I'm all for at the quarterback position. Like, I love guys who can extend and create something out of nothing, and we're all big fans of that, right? We saw that with Donovan for years. I'm a big fan of that, the escapability, right? What Carson brought to the table for a while. But you got to show me the growth in the pocket, or at least your completion percentage, because we all know just running around is not going to win you anything. You got to be at least in the 60s, and I'm hoping that the work he's going to put in this offseason, which we all expected from him, would be something that we could be like, okay, that can go up. But in terms of being a first-round pick, no. Like, even if he did complete 58% of his passes this year, he still wouldn't be that guy. He'd be, because of his height, because of his size, he would be automatically a guy who would probably be more of a second-round guy, just because of all of intangibles. Because you know how this league works. It's all about, like, you look great in a shirt and a tee, and teams clamor for obviously the bigger 6'4", 6'5" quarterbacks if you can find them, or at least 6'3". So, I don't know, like, I don't know if he would drop. Would you guys think would you drop him? I mean, we've talked about him not being a first-round guy. Would you guys need more of is he more of a third? When we all know second was a to begin with. So,
I think he's better. I think Hurts is a better prospect than Kyle Trask, somebody like that. Yeah. There's another guy. What's Molden? I think I want to say Dennis or something like that. I
haven't gotten that deep in the class yet.
That's what, and that's the thing. And that kind of leads me to my point is I don't think the class is as deep once you get past those first four guys. Once you get past Lawrence, Fields, Lance, and Wilson. Once you get past those four, I think Hurts can slot in right there. Maybe overall, I think Hurts is a better QB prospect than Mac Jones. This is because Mac Jones he does one thing, but he does that one thing very, 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 very well, which is throw the football, which you need to do in this league. It could be changing. Now, when we talk about Hurts' completion percentage, one thing that was brought to my attention is his throwaways. Like how many times he was averaging 5 or 6 throwaways a game, which can hurt the percentage. But Tom, like you said, that may get you to like 57, 58%. where we kind of want to see him in like 60, like low 60s, mid 60s, and maybe if we can get a 70%. The one thing I will say about Hurts, the character, we kind of talked about this before Wentz was even traded. I said, if you look at Hurts, the character, Hurts, the man, he's going to give you his best effort. He's going to try and get better. And we, like me and Chucks have said, we hope we're all pleasantly surprised that he can reach that. What we're saying here with this poll question is the ceiling of these 4 quarterbacks that are coming out in this draft is higher. I mean, well, the floor, I would say, the floor is higher than what Hurts' floor is. That's all we're simply saying in context. We're not saying that we want to sit here and draft a QB at 6. Give him the fucking year. Build a team around him, because if he doesn't work out, that means, Jen, you're going to have a higher pick, and then you can come back next year, and we'll revisit the position again. You never know. Or you fucking trade for Russell Wilson. I don't know what the fuck you're going to do.
I just, with Hurts, like, it was never. I know that the completion percentage thing gets brought up a lot. That was never like, yeah, like, it was really low, but that was never like one of my things where I'm like, oh, that's a glaring thing. Like, to me, you guys know me, and maybe it's to a fault, but I'm not a stats guy. I don't look at stats a lot. I just look at the game. I watch what I see, from the players on field. So I don't. What I saw was. Yeah, he was Hurts' accuracy and ball placement was inconsistent. So you would have throws from him that were like, I have no clue what he was aiming at, and that's a concern. But then you'd have also some throws where you're like, and I said at the beginning of the show, you're like, wow, wow, look at that accuracy. So the variation in his throws in terms of accuracy was very, very up and down. Now, another thing that he did was, and I forget exactly what that stat was, but it kind of supported the film, is that he did push the ball vertically a lot. Like, he threw downfield a lot. And a lot of the passes were when he noticed that he had his receiver one-on-one on the outside, single coverage, man-to-man, with a single high safety, he just threw it up. Now, like, he did it because of the matchup and because, hey, like, he trusted the receiver. So you can argue if those are high percentage or low percentage throws, if you want him to keep doing that, or if he way too often. I know he did it a lot against Arizona. So, like, he just kept lofting them up to Alshon. So those, he kept pushing the ball downfield. And so that has part to do with his low completion percentage. Also, look at our receivers. Like, they weren't that great. So drops were an issue as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that always go into completion percentage. So I don't really just look at it. You have to give me context whenever you have a stat. Is it lower than what you want? Absolutely. Even including all context, you definitely want your quarterback to throw around like at least 60% or around that range, because you want to give and take for context. But that's never been one of my main concerns. Is the completion percentage. It's more of stay disciplined in the pocket. Like, and this is what I had a comment on one of my videos.
It should be.
He's not a pocket passer.
It should be, though. You're just dismissing it. Like, no quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl. No. You just went. You talk about context. I'm going to give you context. The one look and go is going to hurt your completion percentage. The inaccurate passes, the throwing on the run all the time, the not being able to drive into your throws, like all them things are going to affect you to be at 52. Like, you could throw the ball away all day. To some people, not to you, but to some people saying throw the ball away. 52 is atrocious. Like, 52 is a third string. So, like 60%, then we have that conversation more of, hey, context on why he's not a 65% guy, right? Like, I would think, like, there's a certain stats that are like, okay, I'm not Mr. Stat Junkie here, but like, there's certain ones that are like, okay, that's just too glaring. Like, I'm going to need you to be, like I said, around 58 at least, because you talk about him driving the ball down the field, but a lot of that comes to, okay, one-on-one matchups on the outside. That's college shit. You should be able to read that and make them throws, not like always to be at a high rate. I'm not saying that, but you should be able to read them things. That's never going to be my concern with him, is being able to like push it a little bit. My concern's on the 5-yard crossing pattern, right? Like my concern is, can you create the windows to throw the football in, being a 6'1" guy? So like that's where, because of his size, his completion percentage becomes even more of like somebody said Kyler Murray, but Kyler learned how to do that at a high rate. So I'm not disagreeing with you that like completion percentage isn't the end all be all. I'm just saying with him, it's that low where it's like, okay, give me the 58 and I'm right with you. That like I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it was misconstrued, and that's why I said like I get it. 52 is really low, and that's where it is a concern. I was just saying like I need to like don't just say, because not saying you, Tom. I'm saying like there are people who are like 52%, like he's inaccurate. No, like there's things you have to consider too.
Factors.
Flash accuracy. He's flashed, like there were some really impressive throws there. So I'm not going to look at 52% and say he can't throw accurate balls. I'm saying that there's, it's 52%. It's really low, but there were signs where you're like, okay, he can get better.
And that's why we're all lukewarm on him, right? Because
right. And I want to say this: we're lukewarm. The fucking people in the comments are saying like we're fucking ice cold. Like, listen, dude, if you want to fucking troll all night, get the fuck out. Like, real shit. Like, I've never said that before. My favorite cuss words start with a B. But I'm sitting here reading these comments. I'm like, people aren't fucking listening to what we're saying. We want Hurts to fucking be the starter for next year. There's nothing else that they can do. Build talent around them. Tom just said it. He recognizes when his wide receivers have a man beat, he's going to give him a fucking chance. What concerns me with Hurts is the red zone, because the field shrinks, and I think that's what Tom was talking about. Those intermediate passes in that zone. What I can see playing out for next year, because we do have a whole new fucking offense, right? If our offensive line can stay healthy, I really think Jalen Hurts next year, the first half of the year, is going to ball fucking lights out. I think he's going to put up crazy numbers because defenses don't know what to do with him in this offense. But everything will adjust. It's just once they adjust to him, I need to be able to see him adjust to him, because the best thing for this fucking team is for him to be the guy. The best thing for the Eagles organization right now, long term, is for him to prove us all fucking wrong.
That'd be great.
Get
red hot on him.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Build around them.
In 2022, you have $80 million in cap space. You have a starting quarterback, a rookie starting quarterback on the second year, and you also have a rookie deal. And then you can fucking be players of free agency. And then you may have a Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts on the fucking offense. So you may have a Patrick Surtain in the defense. You know what I mean? So you have other fucking talent. So I just had to say that shit, because I just feel like people come in, and you may jump into the conversation. If you are jumping into the conversation, please fucking hit the like button, pound that shit. But just want to provide context for the whole fucking thing. You got to summarize some shit for some people.
Like these comments are annoying me, because like we had the one comment saying, "What does a young wide receiver core have to do with a completion percentage?" Well, you have a young and bad wide receiver core that keeps dropping the ball or doesn't run the routes, doesn't know what they're doing. Then the quarterback is going to incomplete. Some of the passes are not going to be as complete. Or I'm saying that weird. He's not going to complete as many passes to a bad wide receiver core.
Yeah, and it looks bad on him, man.
So that's a really dumb comment. Sorry, I'm getting really riled up here. But there's our other comment saying like, I know one was addressed to you, Tom, is saying, oh, he's a one-read quarterback because the offensive line wasn't there, didn't pass block well, and then no one was open on the first read, so he ran. That is not true. That's not true. You're using your narratives and like the narratives that you hear all the time without actually watching the games. Because if you watch the games and you break down film, which we all do, here is that, oh, thank you, Jerome King. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love and support. Thank you. If you actually watch it, there are several times where there is a pocket there. There is a pocket, and there are several times when the first read is open, but for some reason he doesn't see it, and then he runs. And if you don't believe me, go to HUD's Facebook, HUD's Instagram, go to my YouTube, go to watch my Jalen Hurts breakdown against the Cowboys, and it's like 10 to 15 minutes long. I forget, because I looked at all the plays where he had something, he had a pocket, and he had a read open, but he didn't see it. and he ran after that first read.
And then real quick, Chuck, before you continue, think about what Hurts was seeing for fucking 12 weeks in the QB that was in front of him, right? He was seeing that dude run for his life. So you already know Wentz digressed to the point where his confidence was going. He was fucking seeing ghosts. So Hurts is like, this is what I've been seeing this kid play behind for 12 weeks. Now I get in the game, and it's like, oh shit, this shit is real. You see what I'm saying? So why wouldn't he want to run? Bitch, I'm not trying. Listen, he's 6'2", 2-something, fucking shit out of stone. But you get hit 10, 15 times, that shit fucking hurt. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's just human. That's what your brain is going to think. If you see the person that's getting the job in front of you, and you see them running around, they don't fucking have time. So you get in the game, it's like that shit wasn't a dream. That's really what it is. The offensive line was a fucking turnstile. The whole offense last year was just a fucking wash.
I mean, just go watch his college. Just go watch him in college.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. This isn't just a one-time thing. He did this all the time in college too. And before one of you go, because I'm getting too riled up here. Sanade says, "Wow, he made a mistake in 3 games of his career." Stop, because we're not saying he can improve. We're not saying he can improve. We're saying that this is just what he's shown so far. So this is what we're breaking down. We're not saying he can't improve. Stop with it. Like, we get it. Yeah, it's his first 3 games of his career with bad team around him, bad coaching. We get that. And that's why like Pete said it. We want to give him a chance. We're saying we're completely good with giving him a chance because we want to see if he can do it. But we can't, if we're going to point out the truth, you can't come back and say, boo us. Like, stop with that narrative. It's annoying. You're just spitting and hating and trolling just to without listening to us. What we're saying. Someone else go. Tom, I know you wanted to bring up the point about anticipating throws and how he didn't really do that well.
Yeah, you don't trust, because you trust your skill set so much to be able to run around. You know what I mean? And that's where that muscle memory has to change, because I know they put out something that his arm strength is stronger than it is. He was like second in the combine last year or something.
On top of the combine, I hate that. Right?
Velocity or some shit. I don't even know, but I know what my eyes tell me. And we all know that he has to make up for a lack of arm strength by anticipating his throws better and his read. And if he doesn't, then his completion percentage is never going to be good, and he's never going to be the guy, right? So he just needs to be good enough from the pocket. That's it. Just good enough. Be great.
Yes.
Yeah, good enough. And that's fine.
And not just good enough in the pocket. The one thing we criticized and ripped Carson Wentz last season is for him turning the football over. And in 4 games last year, I would say Jalen Hurts didn't do too well hanging on to the football. He put the ball on the ground 9 times. Granted, I would say they only lost 3 of those fumbles, but he also, I would say, on 140 pass attempts, he threw 4 interceptions. He was throwing erratic passes, so they could have been a lot worse. I know someone said he only made 1 mistake in 3 games. He made multiple mistakes in those 4 games, and he was showing the inconsistencies, which, granted, he's a rookie. We expected that. He was thrown into the fire, like you guys said, with a bad football team, with a horrible core around him, but we still want to see some type of improvement. That's why we're not counting Jalen Hurts out. It's just the jury's not out there yet to decide whether he's going to be your franchise quarterback or not until we see a full tape on him.
Real quick, the problem with this fan base, and some of them in our section, it's not, and let me say this, it's not a problem where I say, I don't respect your opinion. We can't sit down and have a conversation, because that's what the fuck we're doing. And you guys, we're speaking out loud verbally. You guys are talking through text in the message board. I see Green Bean 13 says, all I'm going to say is Hurts has a winning mentality. The leadership qualities and potential. I don't want to hear that he can't throw BS. Give this guy's reins and let him work. This is the problem. At what point that everyone is saying this in this chat, right? If the results don't come, are you still going to be saying the same thing? Because we care more about a person's leadership and winning mentality than we're going to fucking care about the results on the field. All that shit sounds cute. It sounds real good. But if the W's don't come with it, what are we going to do at that point? That's all I'm saying.
It gets annoying because, like, this fan base, they want to buy in, and I get it. You have a guy, and you want to buy in so bad. But you have to be careful of letting that fanhood blind you. And we get this fan base does it all the time. What happened with Corey Clement? The Super Bowl hero? What happened to him after that? So many fans claimed him to be the next superstar in the running back in our backfield, and he never panned out. He's just a guy. He's a borderline roster guy. So you have to look at it objectively. I know we want it so bad to happen, and we're rooting for him, but you also have to be honest about how you assess a player's performance. There's nothing wrong with being real about the mistakes that he made, because I guarantee you Hurts and the coaches are looking at those same mistakes, pointing them out, and doing what they can to work on them to fix them. And that's what you can't just say, oh, Hurts, it's okay. You're a rookie. Don't worry about all your mistakes. Just go out and ball because you're a great leader anyway. That's not how it works. Right. You got to improve by looking at your mistakes and flaws. So if they're doing that the same, why is anyone that's going to be objectively critical of Hurts, why do we not get the benefit of the doubt either? Listen to what we're saying, our whole argument. It's not it really bugs me. I've had someone comment on my breakdown video on my YouTube when I broke down his performance against the Cowboys. They said, "Oh, this looks like a Wentz apologist video." Did you not realize that he's a rookie playing in the bad team? And I went off and I'm like, do you not realize that I've been rooting for this guy, and my previous breakdown videos of his games against the Packers and Cardinals were very complimentary. And to be honest, his game against the Cardinals was even better than his game against the Packers, and they lost against the Cardinals. He was amazing against the Cardinals, and I loved what I saw. I loved it.
Defense on that day.
It doesn't mean I'm going to go the next week against the Cowboys, see a bad performance, and let it go.
Exactly.
That's not how we work. That's not how it works. That's not how analysis works. It's not.
We got a dono right here. What up, fam? So, question: if y'all could pick anyone, if you could pick anyone, who do you get? Assuming they're at 6, says a lot about how that we're still taking wide receivers. Listen, you just need fucking weapons. You need best player available, and by some shape, form, or fashion, if that's defense wise, I mean, you got Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain. That's the only ones I'm seeing up there that's worth potentially taking at 6. But I definitely think it's going to be a fucking offensive player. Whatever that position is, I mean, because you don't know what how he's going to do. I mean, more and more for this offense and what I've seen out of Sirianni and not knowing what he's going to do as far as an offensive side of the ball, I got a sneaky feeling, man, that they're going to fucking take Pitts, bro. I think he's a mismatch across the board. I mean, you could play him at wide receiver. He doesn't create super separation. But if you play him at wide receiver, but then if you put him in a slot, if you put him at a tight end, you're talking about linebackers and nickel corners are going to try to match up with this kid, and it's just, you know what I mean? It's just going to make it easy for Goddard. But I mean, at some point in this draft, and I know we'll get into it, they got to take another back. We need a power back. We need something opposite of Miles Sanders to take the load off of it.
Unless if they sign a free agent, that's the thing. There are some good free agent running backs. And so if they sign a free agent, then you don't need to draft one. But yeah, I totally hear you. The thing with Pitts, when you say he doesn't create super separation, when you're 6'6", you don't need super separation.
No.
And if you watch him, go ahead.
No, Mike McFly says J.C. Horn is better than Patrick Surtain. Y'all better watch some tape. Well, do yourself a favor, Mr. McFly, and go watch South Carolina against fucking Florida and see what Kyle Pitts did to J.C. Horn, and come back at me then.
There's a reason why Surtain is considered a top 5 pick in the draft.
So with Pitts, what I will say to anyone saying, because this has been a whole thing on Twitter too all week, and it's been Eagles fans, there are Eagles fans that don't want him, the Eagles fans that want him. And I get the concern about Pitts because he's a tight end. But watch him play against top cornerbacks when he's lined up out wide. And this guy, you talked about Horn. This guy, Pitts, he's out wide against some of these top cornerbacks in the nation. And he's schooling these guys. like I said, you don't have to be like Tyreek Hill level of athlete or
Right.
get Devontae Adams level separation when you're 6'6". You just have to have enough movement skills, and he has more than enough for a 6'6" guy. He is a freak athlete. And that's why to me, if you're at 6, it's either Chase or Pitts. I'm good with either one. That's me. I'm good with Chase or Pitts. You give me one of them, and I'm happy again. Well, until the Eagles' next pick. But I just wanted to address that thing when it came to Pitts. Is you can't just look at tight end.
Nope.
Don't look at his label of position and say, oh, he's a tight end. There would be overkill with tight end. No, it's you get the elite talent and you let your coaches figure out how to use them. They will use great talent on the field and they'll find ways to use them. You literally can use Pitts as your X receiver. You can put him out as X and he will dominate. So I know Pitts is absolutely worth the 6th overall pick. So is Chase.
Yep.
That I'll say how I rate with this fan base be, because I'll say you have 2 divisional rivals not too far behind you in the draft at 8 and 10. So I'll say how I rate with this fan base be if for some reason Kyle Pitts or one of these playmakers that Howie would pass on falls to one of them, then you have the fan base bitching about that. Then I'll say you can never make everyone happy in this fan base like you guys brought before. So like you guys said, take the best player available. We need playmakers on both sides of the ball. We need to build towards the future. I would say we know it's a rebuilding mode. So I'll say get as much talent as you can because we're in cap hell. We don't know how active we're going to be in free agency. And you're going to be getting a lot of dead weight this offseason with high contracts that I'll say you're going to be moving on from that a lot of fans are not going to be happy with.
No, and I think the hype for Pitts right now is coming off of what Chase Claypool's success was last year, because Claypool was a similar mold and kind of rostered as a tight end that could sit there and really beat wide receivers. We kind of seen it in Pittsburgh this year, but when we look at Pitts, it's like that, but and then it's then some. You know what I mean? Where you really can see yourself kind of being Travis Kelce-esque in an offense, you know what I mean? And we sit here and we talk about Jalen Hurts, he's back to the quarterback. You need to help him as much as possible. And that's just true out of any fucking smart team. Now, that's the one thing, Hugh Harper, if Chase is on the board, I would have a hard time taking Pitts over Chase if Chase is on the board. That's just me. I mean, we talk about Patrick Surtain. Go back, and I know it was 2019, but go back and watch the tape of that game, Alabama LSU. And I mean, he was the number 1 wide receiver on his team. He forced Justin Jefferson to go to the inside. You know what I mean? He's and I don't know. It's Chase or Pitts for me. Chase or Pitts, and then Surtain is a third. You know what I mean? That's it.
I've got those two. I kind of dropped Surtain and the rest of the other corners out of that top 10 kind of tier. So if Chase or Pitts are not there, I'd prefer them to trade back because I do think that Surtain would be there a little farther back in the mid first round.
Okay.
It'll be interesting though because it could be Surtain or it could be Farley. It's pretty split right now. I've seen a good amount of people put Farley ahead. So we don't know. Again, and I want to say this to people out there too. No matter what we say, we might say one thing, social media might say another, the media in general, all these websites, ESPN, NFL.com, Sports Illustrated, they'll give you rankings and have their board and their analysts will have their take, but don't always fall for them as if those are the boards that teams go off of, because every team's board is different. And I guarantee you're going to have a team whose board doesn't match up to what the media tells you. And so don't be surprised to see surprises. We see it every year. We see guys go earlier than we don't expect it because teams were higher on that player than we thought. And then vice versa. you see guys go later than expected because teams were lower on that player than the media thought. So it works both ways. Don't get caught up in what the media tells you about big boards. Just don't be surprised on draft day because teams have their own big boards and they often disagree. They often vary from what the media will say. I know there's a few comments in here that I'll get to, but I mean, you're talking about Chase too. I've seen people on social media now, and we do this every year, where they talk about you have a top guy, one of the top guys in the draft, right? Mm-hmm. And then now it's so long until the draft, so people are trying to nitpick, like details about a prospect's game, and then they overblow it. And now you're getting people talk about Chase and like, oh, well, he concerns me because one, he didn't play in 2020, and two, he seems just like a 50-50 ball guy. I don't have faith in prospects or players who are just 50-50 ball guys like who.
I think to be nervous on Jamar Chase though. Like I think there's all that's fair. I think not playing. I wouldn't touch anybody that didn't play in professional. That didn't play football in 2020. It's concerning to me. So I would take them guys and drop them out of the top 10. That's just how I feel about it because it's such a fast game that it just makes me nervous and we need to hit. The other thing with Jamar Chase is remember something, guys. He played with 2 potential rookie of the years, right? And Jamar Chase is not an inside guy. And is he explosive? Can he take top off? Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking him, but there's a reason me personally doesn't have him to where even Devontae Smith is. Because Devontae Smith can go inside, outside. He's just as explosive, and people want to shoot him down for his size, right, and all that. But he was always wide open and from all spots, not just the outside, right? We don't have that inside guy right now. So we need guys who can play. That's what took Pitts above Chase for me. Was the ability to go inside, outside. That's why I have Smith hired in Chase is the ability inside, outside, not just along the talent. Like Jamar Chase is a special talent, but we also got to factor in is that whole offense going to be awesome? I mean, this is our luck. Is that whole offense from LSU going to all be big time ballers in the National Football League? They could. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but chances our luck is we take Chase. And he's almost like a one-trick pony, and we don't get enough of that true number one, right? That's my only concern. Now, but I agree with you that people are going to overblow prospects, and the media is going to tell you where guys rank. But just common sense should help people throughout this board. There's no way. There's no way. You're playing with fire if you want to trade out and hoping you're going to get Surtain outside of the top 10 because you just can go look at needs. You can go look at a team that did it to us last year with Dallas Cowboys, right? I mean, their need is another corner. Their backfield's atrocious because Awuzie's a free agent. So now it's Diggs and one other guy under contract. So it's almost like set up. But now the Cowboys would reach and take Farley. That would be their MO. You know what I mean? Because of his potential upside and stuff. But I'm not saying I disagree with people overreacting the prospects, etc. I'm just a believer in for football, Parsons, Chase, Sewell, some of these guys, it's concerning you not playing for a full year. Inside the top 10, it's concerning.
Yeah. So, but even as I've gone through my tape and I watched, I mean, this Devontae Smith, I feel like pro ready day one. I don't think out of him and Chase, I just think Chase is more pro ready day one because we need Smith to grow into his body. I'll be honest with you. There's those out there who say if Waddle never got hurt, it's exactly. I was just you're starting to see Jalen Waddle creep up boards because Jalen Waddle can be Tyreek Hill-esque. And don't get me wrong, you need that guy that could chop up on the inside and get to you those yards and be elite with his footwork. And that's Devontae Smith. But at the same time, this game is turning. It's almost like I think the NFL is really almost turning into fucking baseball. It's either a home run or a strikeout. It's a big player, go fucking home. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Sorry.
No. That's it. I mean, that's really it. It's big player go home, and I think, especially with Howie, I think they're looking at what they're going to do at quarterback and their offense. They're going to want to get big home run plays and be explosive. And I'm just this is just me. When you look at Chase, Waddle, or Smith, I think Smith is the most least explosive out of all three of them. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and it's not. And he's not explosive. It's just talk when you compare three top prospects. Like you're trying to nitpick. So I get what you're saying. To me, like what I have an issue with is people act like Chase is a one-trick pony, but he's not. Like they had him go vertical a lot because that was like his best trait, and he's so good at the catch point, and he's so freaking strong that there's no, like, you saw him like school guys. Like there's that one highlight where he's one-on-one deep against Diggs, and he stops his body momentum, and he goes up and gets it on Diggs, and Diggs is like, he falls on the floor on the ground, and Chase walks into the end zone. He's making numerous catches like that. His body control is unreal, but he's not just a deep threat. Like you see, he has lined up in the slot, and he is so strong, and like his play strength is elite. Like you have reps where these top corners, and I forget the one corner that played against him that had the most success. I forget his name. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but he jammed him at the line. And if there's one down or like one concern with Chase, to me, it's the fact that he lets too much contact into his frame. So you have corners that like really try to get physical with him, but he's so strong that he would just throw them aside. Like they try to get into his chest, and then his play strength is so elite that he would just shrug them aside, and then that's how he gets open. And then he's so good at the nuances in his route running, and when he makes breaks, he does little things like a head fake, or he does things where he drops his hips to make it look like he's breaking when he's not, and then that's what gets him to get open, down the field. He's had reps in the slot where it's a slant route, and man, you get him on the slant route, he plucks, his hands are nasty. Like you see him, he grabs the ball out of midair quick and brings it in so fast, and then he's upfield. And that's another thing. You get him into space, like getting the ball close to the line of scrimmage, and this guy is so good after the catch too. So he's not just I don't like the notion, anyone that goes out there and says, oh, he's a one-trick pony, he only goes deep and wins 50-50 balls, they're only watching the highlight videos on YouTube. They're not watching the copies where they show all of his reps. Because if you watch the copies on YouTube where they show all his reps, you'd see he runs numerous types of routes, he lines up different spots, and he can do it all. He doesn't have a weakness other than, okay, he lets corners get into his chest. But the thing is, he's so strong that he can fight off of that. And a good coach, once he gets to the pros, they'll correct that. They'll fix that so that he doesn't have to worry. He can learn how to avoid that much contact. But that's my gripe with the Chase thing. Like I think the fact that if you're gonna say, okay, he didn't play in 2020, I get it. And I understand that concern. For me, it's not as big of a concern. If it's a concern for other people like Tom, I totally understand, and I get that that being enough to not want Chase that high. I get that, but it's the other thing of he's a one-trick pony that really bothers me because he's not. He's really not a one-trick pony.
Well, listen, he has a lot of routes where he's got to get open and you got to be wide open. But there's a lot of the explosiveness that might not just come from the 50-50 deep ball, but come from a slant run and wide open too. So it's like there's going to be concerns with all these players on that kind of stuff because there's guys that are running wide open. I mean, Devontae Smith runs wide open. I mean, that's why Pitts jump these guys for me because he can make plays not being wide open. So and that's the difference maker. It's not that like I just don't want to miss, right? So it's like I'm scared money right now. Like I'm scared of all of them, and both of these guys are like right from the schools that I would go pluck these types of talents from, which is the SEC. Like I trust both of them. I just scared with us, and are we going to go wide receiver again? So it's like but then are we reaching on Pitts And like, am I one of the guys falling into the love affair and him jumping into a top 10 guy? Because I'm responsible for this because I'm watching him go up, and come down with footballs, especially in the red zone, double covered, which is what you need. You need, especially for a quarterback. Jake, you don't even know anything about LSU. You claim you're an LSU fan.
So you see Don in here saying Pitts over who? Because guess what? Who's fucking behind us at 7? Don may be sitting there as a Detroit Lions fan and think Don Maracowitz from day one, your OG fan, and they sitting there at number 7. And he's like, please, he may be saying, please take Chase, take anybody, don't take Pitts. You know what I'm saying? Like they may want Pitts in Detroit. He's a Swiss Army knife with talent. I mean, it's hard for me if I'm looking at the offensive as a whole and just week to week matchup problems. I'm more inclined to go with Pitts because he can do more. He's more versatile. I'm not saying that Chase or Smith isn't. It's just like you said, Tom. When shit gets muddy in the water, you need somebody to go fucking make a play. I mean, I think
either one of them guys can. That's the funny thing. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these guys. So, like, all that fun stuff. Like, I don't think you can go wrong. Like Chase to me, out of all them 5 guys, like Pitts, Surtain, Chase, Smith, even Parsons. Like, even though he didn't play, I dropped them to a little bit because they didn't play, but they're still big time talents. Like, I don't think you can go wrong. Like, I think you could go any of them 5 guys and come out of this draft. And all of us would sit here and say, you know what? I feel good, right? Like, I just don't think there is. Like, I can nitpick on all of them, right? You know what I mean? Certain I can nitpick on things that I think he can't miss, right? But I can still find things that that worry me a little bit, right? At 6, right? I think it's just the way it is, especially with us feeling so sensitive as a fan base towards it right now too. Like we're scared to get hurt. We're scared to get hurt again. So it's like, well, is this guy good enough? Like, I don't know.
It's not even that. It's just is the guy good enough? One, but is in the organization going to stick with him long enough? Like, you feel what I'm saying? And that's the mixed signals. It's one thing is fans that send mixed signals to the team, but when the team is doing it, that's the fucking problem. You know what I mean? That's the problem. They could have easily came out last Thursday and said, "Hey, we're gonna rock with Jalen Hurts for the year. We'll bring up a veteran QB and see what we have." Nope. QB competition. This is not us saying this shit. This is what the Eagles organization said less than 6 hours after they traded their franchise QB for the last 5 years. So, I mean, it's just always got to be something. I just want a year where it's just out there. We live with the results. People are in their slots. It's like a fucking bullpen. Like, Tom, we'll take it to a little baseball real quick. Your 8th inning guy is your 8th inning guy. That's your setup man. You can't have your setup man then being the closer, then have your closer then being the setup man, being your long guy. These fucking guys don't like that. You know what I mean? Performance goes down when that shit happens, when there's too much inflexibility there. So I just want some stability, man. That's all I'm asking for. Man, hell with the results. Because this division at the end of the day still is going to be what it is.
And Tom, to your point about Pitts, I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all if you have Pitts over any of them. And while you're away, I was talking about Pitts. Like, you have these guys who are concerned. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you so much. And yes, it is very scary having the better guy go to a division opponent. I get it. Yeah, it is. But I don't know if you heard me, Tom, but like these guys saying, "Oh, like he's only a tight end." Pitts dominated at wide receiver against top tier college talent at cornerback, and so like you talk about putting him all over the field. He literally dominates no matter where you put him. X, Y, Z, F, H back. You can put him anywhere besides maybe like quarterback and running back, and he would dominate. He's that special. That's why like I don't blame you at all. If you want to take Pitts over any of them, I'll be right there with you. I will gladly take Pitts. And I just realized this past week, I didn't know Pitts was from Philly.
Oh, really?
You didn't know either.
No.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't know he was from Philly. So can you imagine the hype? Like you take Pitts at 6, and he like you could argue he's already the face of the franchise.
Yeah, that love affair starting.
Donovan, if the Eagles pick Pitts. You can kill two birds with one stone. Wide receiver, tight end. Yeah. And here's another thing, guys. And tell me what you think about this, because look at the past few past several Super Bowls, right? Let's go like 5 years. I don't remember the exact teams off the top of my head, sequentially, but look at them and compare how many of them had an elite tight end and how many of them had an elite wide receiver. And you'll easily see that most of those teams, they had an elite tight end. And so you could start looking at that and be like, okay, is there a trend here? And I think what you see is because we had Ertz, obviously. Kelsey was in there. Gronk was on the Patriots. Obviously, George Kittle last year with the Niners. Like, dude, those are all tight ends that are also, they're so deadly as receivers that they impact the game as both a tight end and a wide receiver in terms of alignment. So
it's the mismatch. Be able to go slide.
Yes,
outside.
Exactly. Because these elite tight ends, they create such a mismatch because they can affect you in different ways. And so it becomes so pivotal for team success. And so, like, you start to wonder, is the value of tight end not being talked enough about, past several years? And I always thought that was a very interesting conversation because it's true. It's to me, at least, it's true. Having an impactful tight end is so important nowadays because they impact the games and there's such a mismatch wherever you line them up. So I think that, I know we have Goddard. We all love Goddard, but Pitts, man,
he's different. Like you can't even you can't even really say he's just a tight end. I mean, like you can just put him on the field and just say, okay, where is this team weak at? We can line Pitts up there, and then you can bring him in. He's not the greatest at run blocking or pass blocking right now, but that's something that he can grow into.
Yeah.
But
double team at the line like he's the gunner of the punt team. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he was. Man, teams wanting to stop him so bad. So like, I don't know. I love Pitts. I think he's a can't miss guy. So that's why I agree with Tom.
you say he's a can't miss guy, but is Howie going to feel the same way? We're hyping up all these playmakers. We're hyping up all these guys.
Yeah.
And do we really believe that Howie is having the same evaluation and the same look that we keep on saying these guys are can't miss? Because like Tom brought up before, the Eagles have vested in the wide receiver position the last 2 years with Rager last year and second round JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So I would say Pitts I can understand because he's considered a tight end. You can move him around like you brought up, Chucks. But with Chase and Smith, do we really see them going at 6 again with another wide receiver? Because if they do that, you're basically admitting, which Howie does not do often, that I would say that possibly Rager and JJ were the wrong picks and that you're going to somewhat give up on them by bringing in a top wide receiver like one of those guys.
He realizes that they were.
I hope they do too, but I was saying this is Howie we're talking about. And I understand everyone's talking about JJ and DK the past couple years, but remember, I would say Jefferson and the Vikings, they missed the playoffs, and I would say the Seattle was a one-hit wonder at first-round exit. So I would say just because you have a top-flight wide receiver, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to go to the Super Bowl. You have to find other players and other needs. And if the Eagles move on from Darius Slay, like there's some rumors possibly that he might be on the trade block or they might be interested, I feel they go Surtain or at least somewhere on the defense, because who the hell's going to play corner on this football team if you move on from Darius Slay, who had a subpar season last year?
Exactly, Jeff. Nobody. Exactly. Me and you. You know what I mean? Like me and you are going to start backpedaling because that's what we're going. Like I agree with you. You can't go quarterback in the first round because then you'd be 3 out of 6 years. If you go wide receiver, you drafted 3 last year. 3. Yep. Right? Not even including JJ the year before. And I don't care what rounds they were selected in. Like you're up against it cap wise. So when you talk about JJ, Jalen, Watkins, Hightower, Fulgham, all right? I don't give a shit if we don't win a game. Just like I say about Jalen Hurts, I want them playing 16 games, okay? No excuses. No excuses. You can't go back there again. I love Smith and Chase. I would take both of them in a heartbeat any other year, and I'm almost mad it's not every other year. But But like you can't go back there. So you have to figure out a different way to do it. And if you do go back there, guess what? If these guys are elite talents and they're game changers, right? You can't run away from it either. All right. But I agree with everything you said. You guys are building a football team. And football teams just aren't quarterback factories and wide receiver factories. Okay. You got to build a football team again. And when you look on this defense, name a young up-and-coming star on this defense. There isn't one. So I'll just help everybody out.
And the one that they may have is about to get traded to Buffalo. Watch. I'm right now, February 25th. I'm predicting Derek Barnett gets traded to Buffalo.
Might be the only guy that he's not even a star, but that's your biggest upside guy because Josh Sweat's not an every down player to me yet. He's got to prove that.
Well, he never will be. That's the thing. He's like
sell high now. Sell high now.
He's like I'm trying to think of a parallel with Josh Sweat because like you have to limit his reps, but he impacts the play. He impacts his reps so well. But he's never. Those knees are like a ticking time bomb. We talked about. Remember years ago.
Yeah, Jay Ajayi.
Yes, we talked about Jay Ajayi's one knee being a ticking time bomb. Josh Sweat has 2 knees that are ticking time bombs. So like he's never going to be a full-time player. And I'm a Sweat guy, but I say off the bat he's never going to be a full-time player. You need. You need.
They moved Jannard Avery they're moving Jannard Avery's agent. What do we do? What do we do? Well, why? No, just cut him. Okay, how about that? If you're going to move from DN to linebacker, Howie, this goes to Jeff's point. He hates admitting shit. Okay, just admit that you missed. Okay, guy got hurt, guy got banged up. He gave up a pick for him. So what? I'll trade picks for players in the league all day. All right, that you think can have a skill set, but it didn't work. So move on. All right, this is what I'm so sick of. Like he'll just hold on to these things. You'll hold on to that, but you won't hold on to Sydney. You use the 2nd round pick on. You're right. Like so to what we were talking about earlier. Maybe he doesn't hold on to JJ. Maybe JJ's a guy who's like, screw it. We'll take the hit. Right. I don't know what to think, and I don't think anybody does really this year on what they're really thinking for once. Like we have no freaking clue because I don't think they do. You know what I mean? And not as like a disrespectful, like they have no clue. We already know that. But like I think this whole thing from the beginning has blindsided them because I think they really just wanted to dangle a carrot around and not be in this situation, and they got caught. And now it all leads up to like, oh my God, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do in the draft? Like, the whole thing's weird. It smells like shit. And if they draft the quarterback at 6 or a wide receiver, I don't know how you keep a job.
No, I'm definitely not quarterback. I'm not looking for that. I'm
wide receiver. I don't know how you keep a job, Pete.
But that's why you go Pitts because he's positionless.
Yeah, I guess.
That's how they would spin it. He's not a tight end. He's not a wide receiver. And then you hear we're talking about Howie here. He's hearing all this hype for Pitts, not just coming out of Philly. Daniel Jeremiah has him on his number 3 overall fucking prospect. You look at other places. He's in the top 5. He's in the top 10 overall prospects out of any position in the draft. He'll sell that shit like fucking hotcakes. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm seeing O-line. You can look outside of, I think the other second offensive lineman, offensive tackle, outside of Penny Sewell is it Raekwon Slater? Is that the name of him?
Raekwon Slater. Yeah, and he's not like an early first round pick.
Right,
Sewell's not going to be there. I'm willing to bet money, a lot of money, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll take it, but I'm very confident Sewell's not going to be there because I think the lowest he goes is to the Bengals at 5. If he's there at 5, I'm willing to bet money that the Bengals take him. Why? Because Joe Burrow tore his ACL because he wasn't protected.
And MCL.
Might not get by Miami. You know what I mean?
And he might not get by Miami. So those are 2 spots. So I am so confident. I could be wrong. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I'm like 98% confident Sewell's not going to be there at 6.
Right.
So that's why I personally like he's a stud, but I'm not going to have that conversation because I don't think he's even going to be there.
No, and that's the thing. Like that's what we talk about with certain. Like, do you feel as if taking Chase, Pitts, or Smith, any combination of those 3 on the board at 6? And I hear what Tom is saying, or even maybe a QB. Do you think you would do that before drafting a Surtain or Farley? That some may consider them be a reach at 6. because the talent itself, take position out of it. If you're just looking at BPA, best player available at 6, do you go? We always preach to go that route. Or Tom, am I hearing you correctly that based on what you're saying is you wouldn't even do that in this case because you backed yourself into a corner by taking 3 wide receivers last year?
By taking 4 really over 2 years and using a first and a second round pick on 2 of them players, right? Sort of put you in a hard spot to do it again. And then the quarterback thing was what we already know. Like any other year, I would say, okay, like, this is what you need. Like if we didn't take Rager in the first round and we went elsewhere last year,
right?
Then they could get off the hook by going there again. But because they backed themselves into the corner exactly, and this the bed you made, you gotta lay in it for a minute now. That's just my thought. That's just how I look. That doesn't mean I'm passing up on talent either. Like I'm not going to trade out if nobody wants to take Chase and he's sitting there at 6 and all the other my guys are off the board. No, and then let's go to bed. You know what I mean? We'll just. So it's
just live draft reaction ATD show.
Yeah, I just feel like this draft is very top end heavy in certain positions when it comes to the skill positions. And would it not, like we've said it here, it would behoove the Eagles for Hurts to be the guy, correct?
That'd be great.
If we can see that,
Ideal,
and Sirianni and that coaching staff are probably like, okay, it would behoove us and benefit us the most to put the most talent around Jalen Hurts for him to be successful, right? Because we've seen when they tried to do it with Carson, it didn't fucking work. It didn't work. So now, but like this organization is so overreactionary to where, okay, do they say now, fuck it, we drafted so many players, offensive players last year, where this year the first fucking 5 rounds is all defensive players. I just don't know. And I mean, the only person that I've seen that may be worth taking that 6, I'm going to say maybe worth, but outside of Surtain or Farley taking that 6, and we know they're not going to go this route, is taking Micah Parsons because I didn't even know the kid had off the field character issues. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you know what I mean?
Good.
It may be forced to take another skill position.
Good. I'm glad. Get some guys in here with some extracurriculars, right? I mean, this is the defense side of football. I mean, this is rough and tough. We ain't getting the Catholic, just Catholic schoolboys here, right? This ain't a church, right? This is rough and tough, all right? Whatever. Yeah, we take all the nice guys all the time. It's about time we go back and start looking for guys like LeGarrette Blount who will punch somebody in the face. You know what I mean?
The only thing you can hope for is you hope a QB is still on the board at 6 and they trade back.
No, because then I just feel like the fans aren't going to get what they want out of that because they'll trade back, right? And then it's not about the fans. But then there's later round picks that they'll make it this year. They're going to then trade them for the back end the next year. So they're not going to draft 12 guys this year. They're just not going to do it, right? Like
I don't think their cap will let them do it, but then they'll give them more ammo if they want to get back to a guy. And I'm saying this, my fallback spot that I'm only going at 9.
Okay.
I hope a quarterback is there for Denver to come up and come get. Yeah. Because I feel like they did it to us last year. They did it ahead of us. If we get past 10, Dallas is going to fuck us. Like Dallas will draft Kyle Pitts or some shit.
Yeah. I'm scared of that too. Yeah.
Oh my God! Could you imagine that offense? They might score 80. Talent, Jesus, my own.
Well, it depends who's that quarterback too. I mean, maybe not. But.
Well, they're going with Dak. They already said they want Dak back. It's just working out that extension or putting him on this franchise tag for a second straight year.
What
him go.
What did they do? A sign and trade with Seattle?
No, stop. I've seen that rumor.
Eagles or Dallas?
People bring it up. Oh my God! Please, God, no. Don't.
I'm just saying.
Talk about that. Don't even talk about that.
I don't know.
Russell's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't see.
I wouldn't say that. It sounds like it's.
Well, no, he according to Adam Schefter, the report was a little bit miscued, and he said if there was any talks of trading him, he wants to play in Seattle. But if there were any talks, these are the 4 or 5 teams he would like to go to.
But see,
is that before or after the meeting? Pissed off,
right? That's what they. I would take Schefter's word for that, but that's the same fucking way he started with the Wentz shit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah.
Well, he better not go to Dallas, and he better not go to Washington. So that's all I care about. He better not go in the damn division.
I know. I hear you.
I don't understand what Washington is doing right now. Like, you need a fucking quarterback. You get a quarterback.
They're trying to
win this division
for the next 2 or 3 years.
Huh?
They're trying to figure out their team name. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I would say everyone's talking about worrying about Dallas in this division. I'll say, like you said, they're a quarterback away from being a decent playoff contending team, especially with that defense with Chase Young, the way he's going to develop, and they finally have a head coach with Ron Rivera that knows how to use the defensive side of the ball. I would say all they need is a quarterback. They need a veteran quarterback with a couple weapons they have there. They're going to be explosive and dangerous. They won the division last year with Alex Smith and what's his name?
Brandon Allen.
Whatever the hell his name was.
And then you had Dwayne Haskins. But if you're somebody like Washington, would you not call the Jets and be like, listen, I'll give you 2 twos for Sam Darnold. That way, it takes the pressure off the Jets to see if they want to move on from Sam Darnold, and they can draft a fucking QB at 2. Sam Darnold can get a fresh start to somewhere like Washington. He's not truly an older veteran, but he is a veteran. He's been in the league now for 3 or 4 years, and behind that defense, he can kind of fucking make those mistakes. You know what I'm saying? With the better head coach, because obviously Ron Rivera is a better coach than fucking Adam Gase. And I mean, Saleh can get his chances, but I mean, I just don't know why Washington is sitting on their fucking hands and we don't hear anything about what they're trying to do. And when you can't go in there with 1.5 calves, Alex Smith.
Do they have a first round pick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where
it'll be in the late in the 20s because they did
25 or 26 or some shit like that.
They are 19.
I wonder if they're looking at Mac.
Could be.
I don't think Mac. I think if New England or somebody like that picks in front of them, I think New England may get Mac.
New England's at 15.
Okay.
So
I'm just wondering because I keep hearing stuff about like Mac being fringe first rounder. So I mean, like I'm just trying to like see like okay, he would be there, like probably be there. Maybe that's what they're looking at. I don't know. I really don't know.
I just think Dallas is closer than they are. And I know that's not saying a lot, and it's an unpopular opinion. But I just think, like, if Dak's there, it's just all dependent on Dak. Like, Dak's grown on me over the years where I was like a big I was big on Dak needing to get better at things than he did. Talent around him helps, but you can see what they were as soon as he left.
Yeah.
They didn't have him anymore. I think their defense has talent. It has talent. It's weird. Like there's playmakers there. It's just strange. Like they just done last year. But I think that no team's won a division twice in a while now, right? Yeah. So they're the team next year that comes and takes it when everybody's down on them for a year.
But Dallas, I would say you're talking about the offense side of the ball. Yeah, you have to remember they need to revamp that defense. They had historically one of the worst defenses in NFL history last year. So I would say, they can put all the points up they want offensively, but if they can't stop anyone, it's not going to freaking matter. Who's that quarterback?
But there's a lot of talent on their defense. Like
on paper,
they underperformed. They underperformed. I mean, all 3 levels they've used they have big time assets they've used on. If they just recently did with Diggs in the first round, but like even up front, like they've when you talk about Lawrence and you talk about what they have up front and you talk about their linebacker core, they've used assets that have a young defense. And the year before they played really well. This year, like I don't know what their scheme different was from a year past, but like they played like shit. You're right. I mean, there's no running from that. They got to get off the field or it doesn't matter.
A lot of it, I think, like. Their defense was horrible last year overall, but most of it was in the beginning of the year, and it did get better. Unfortunately, starting with the Eagles game, that's when they started to get better. I think a lot of it was their defensive coordinator and that coaching staff. I don't know. I haven't kept up with them, fam. If you know the answer to this, or if you guys do, I don't know what the situation with their staff is. Their defensive coaching staff, if they fired people and hired other people, but I think if they change that up and then some of their young guys start to get better. Like I liked Reggie Robinson, the corner they took in the 3rd or 4th round. I liked him as a mid-round guy. So I think if he takes a step forward, he'll take the place of, I think, who's the one free agent corner? Uzier is a free agent.
They have a bunch of free agents, I would say.
Yeah,
that's what I was about to bring up. They have a lot of turnover, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, they had the 2 corners that they drafted, which is Reggie Robinson and Diggs. If they take a step forward, then they could be solid there. They obviously need a safety, and they need edge rush. Jalen Smith was bad last year. I don't know if he can – I don't know what he is, because 2 years ago he was great. Last year he was horrible. So I don't know what he is, but they drastically need secondary help at safety specifically, and they need an edge rusher. They needed an edge rusher last year. That's why I thought they were going to go with what's his face?
Caleb Valchason.
Yeah, I thought that was like an obvious pick. Like I was like, okay, that Chase that's what they're getting, but they couldn't pass up on Lamb, and I don't blame them. But the fact remains they need a pass rusher and they need a safety. So yeah, that defense they need those pieces, plus the coaching needs to just get better. But on offense, I think the only thing on offense they need to do is you work the offensive line because they were banged up as anything.
Yep.
And then
older too. They're getting older too.
Yeah, they're getting really old. So they need a tight end, man. They need a tight end too. Like I'm not a believer in any of those tight ends. Like they're okay, they're solid, but I think they do need a playmaking tight end.
Let's be real. A lot of teams in this division have a lot of holes. So
yeah.
More than just us. I know, like the other teams look like they're more up and coming and more promising. You know, I know the Giants defense played good last year. I know Washington defense, obviously, their front is unbelievably young and talented. So that's not going anywhere anytime soon. But you look around and it's not all peaches and cream for these other teams either. Even though Washington won a division last year, they got holes. You know, they got to figure out. Starting with the quarterback, which is always the hardest thing to find, right? And then you look at, you just said about Dallas, and we know the Giants' offense issues. Now, Saquon, will that help it? Sure, it's not gonna hurt it. But is it going to be the difference in Daniel Jones? I don't believe it. So there's major holes, and Dallas doesn't even know. After this year, if Dak's their long-term quarterback. So it's not just here, which is good. Like, we almost have that flexibility to be 2 to 5 years, guys. And if we hit lightning in the bottle 1 year, then great.
We'll see. I mean, I feel like Washington's closer because if you look at it without a QB, if they did get a QB, they have a number 1 wide receiver in McLaurin who can do it all outside, inside. We see what Antonio Gibson can give you when he's healthy. Offensive line is not top 5-ish, but it's good enough. You know what I mean? So they remind me of the fucking Carolina Panthers teams. Like they're stable on both sides of the ball. They don't. All it takes is one, like the QB to be half decent. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, but Dallas and the Giants, just all the fucking talent in the world, all the talent. Like we sat here talking about the Eagles with the young talent. You can't name 2-3 guys, and you do the same shit with the Giants and and Dallas, and you can name 5 to 6. It's the complete opposite. I just don't know what clicks, like what's not clicking for them. I mean, it benefits us, you know what I mean? But I don't know what's not clicking for them, for those organizations. I don't get it. We said this the day that fucking Saquon got drafted there. He's gonna fucking ruin his career, and he's not gonna do shit in New York.
Well, he was hurt last year, so I'll say you can't fault him for that.
No, I'm not fault. I'm talking about he'll never succeed. Like they won't win shit. You know what I mean?
That's the Giants' fault, and I would say as an organization, in their eyes, that's why everyone criticized them the year they drafted Saquon over a quarterback. I'll say, they thought Saquon was going to be this Hall of Fame next Eric Dickerson or whatever. But I'll say in reality, we know in this league that, there's some talented running backs in this league that can be difference makers, but they're a dime a dozen. You can find quality talent at that position later on for them to invest the franchise at number 2 with Saquon, nothing against him. He's from my area. He went to high school about 20 minutes away from me. He's from Penn State, so I always rooted for him. But I'll say that's the one that you're asking why their organization ain't clicking. That's one of the reasons. I'll say they had too much high priorities on the big names rather than trying to find the best talent for their franchise.
Cowboys, right? I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, same thing. You know, you lose a high pick on Ezekiel Elliott, right? And then once you paid him, you haven't been to the playoffs 2 straight years. Yep. So, you know, you take that for what it is. You know, you go and you value paying certain positions more than others, and now you start having weaknesses on your up front, right? You know, we talk about edge rushers, right? We talked about their secondary last year, the Cowboys, like not being able to bring back a guy like Byron Jones, right? Hurt them. So you start to have to say, okay, what's my identity? And then if that identity is hurt or that identity is an 8-year pro now or whatever Zeke is at this point, right? And you're not going to be the same guy. That's where the contract smokes you, right? And it's smoking Dallas because they can't get the money to Dak for a long-term deal because they got a long-term deal to the running back who's only going to get older every year, right? And you're right. And the same thing with the Giants. Now, Saquon's a better talent. If you probably go back and look at that draft, like, yeah, I'll take Saquon. But what are your priorities once payday comes? That's the big question mark. If you're willing to take a guy top 5, top 10, fine. But when the day comes where you got to write the check, are you willing to write it? And is it best for your football team?
Two things. I think with the Saquon thing in New York, I was on, and this wasn't. And my friends who are Giants fans always get on me like, "Oh, you're just hating." No, like if I was the Giants, I would have taken. Crap! Who was the lineman that went to the Colts? The guard. Why can't I think of his name now? Jeez, fam, if you know, just shout it. But you guys know who I'm talking about. You guys know
Notre Dame.
Yeah, the elite talent at guard. Like he was as can't miss as anything. Nelson, thank you.
Quentin Nelson.
Yeah,
I would have taken Nelson or I would have went quarterback because you have to build when you don't have their line is horrible and they didn't have a quarterback. If you don't have either, I'm not taking a running back, even if they're a generational talent. I'm not taking a running back if I don't have a line or I don't have a QB. Easy as that. Like it's you guys know I'm like the running back guy. I love running back. But I'm not delusional. I'm not going to pick a generational guy when I don't have quarterback or a line. So you're seeing that now play out. Like Saquon has to run for his life just to get 10 yards in New York. And it's a shame. Like the moment that they picked him, I was like, he's the next Barry Sanders because he's going to be this great talent, but he's never going to win anything because the Giants they're not a winning organization anymore. Gettleman is a horrible GM that wants to emphasize the run, but doesn't like to build that line. So that's the thing with Saquon. Like you don't have a line. You can't take a running back if you don't have a line. But in terms of, there was another point I was trying to hit with the Cowboys, but now I can't remember the second point I was going to make. So you guys just go ahead, and if I remember it, I'll say it. No.
Yeah. I waited to see if it was going to come back to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it had to do with the Cowboys.
Well, was it the money? Was it all the
yes. So money, right? I've been saying this for years. The running backs, everyone knows, drafting a running back is great because you get possibly an elite talent or a great running back, and then you get them for cheap. That's awesome. The question now has become, especially when we've seen contracts not work, like Devontae Freeman's and Todd Gurley's, that second contract, you don't like to give it to them. I've been saying that running backs, I get it. Like Christian McCaffrey's contract, I get it because he's a different type of running back. He's a receiver as well. But I think for the most part, and I know some running backs are not going to want to accept this or hear this, but I think you got to go with shorter contracts. I think if you want big money, get guaranteed contracts that are on a 1 or 2 year deal. Get that big money up front because then teams don't have to commit too long so that if you do break down, they're not on the hook for a long period of time. So that's what I would ask for. If I was a running back, a pro running back, or like an agent of one, I would look for, okay, give me 2 year contract with like 15 million guaranteed or 10 million guaranteed, and I'm good. Something like that. And then, I think teams will be able to work with that because they're not committed long term, and they don't have to worry about, guys like Zeke or Gurley breaking down and being injured and not living up to the extension or the long term, the whole term of that contract. So it probably will never happen because I know all players want security, but with running back, it's so different because they have the shortest shelf life out of any position. You kind of have to adjust, but that's just a thought I've had.
That I would say you bring up a good point with the whole running back contract with getting their second contract. We have to remember him in Philly. I would say Miles Sanders, I would say he only has 2 years left on this deal and under his rookie deal. And I would say it's great for us, but if Howie feels that we're in rebuilding mode and they're not sold on Miles Sanders, if you get a good enough offer, do you guys feel we should move on from Miles? Or I would say, do you think they entertain the offer, get some compensation for him? I think because if you're not going to pay, if he's going to want a buttload of money depending on your cap situation in the next couple of years, is that I would say I love Miles, but I would say he was a little bit of a disappointment last year coming off his a decent rookie campaign. So if we're going to be in losing mode, why are you going to waste those years of Miles' prime of his career losing when you can get some type of compensation for him or risk him moving on if he wants too much money than what you think he's worth?
I wouldn't yet because his upside is still so big.
I agree.
That if he balls out, he helps your young quarterback a lot.
So
but someone offers you.
It also has to do with Sirianni because if you guys remember, I broke down his offense and what the Colts did. They use the running back as a receiver in very creative ways. Look at how they use Nyheim Hines. The amount of routes and creativity they had Hines do was phenomenal. So if I'm Sirianni, I'm looking at Sanders' skill set and this is a skill set that I can work with and do creative stuff with. I think you do need – we talked about this last week toward the end of the show. Me and Tom agreed on it and we touched on it, but you need a good RB2 right behind them to complement him and take some weight off of Sanders so that he is healthy for the long run. He stays healthy for the stretch of the season, and that way he can be fresh – late in the year and have a more consistent year. And that'll ultimately help your quarterback, whoever you go with at quarterback. Hopefully it is Hurts. So I think with Miles, he had struggles as a receiver. He was better in his second year as a runner. And a lot better as a runner in his second year.
When he was used. That was the problem with Peter.
The drops and the fumbles obviously have to stop.
Right.
But I also put, him and Wentz just weren't on the same page on a lot of those checkdowns. And I put the blame on both of them, both Wentz and Sanders. That's an easy connection that it's remember McNabb, Westbrook was his safety blanket. Whenever things got rough, it was okay, where's West? There you just dump it off. They were on the same page on those checkdowns. Wentz and Sanders never were. So it's that took away a lot of Sanders' receiving production, but I think that's something he's shown he can do. His rookie season, he showed he's a really good receiver. We just have to hope that a new coaching staff will be able to use him better. That's why I wouldn't get rid of him just yet. I want to see how he does
next year.
Yeah.
So for me,
we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
For me, and that's before I answer the question, Jeff, just restate the question again, and then I'll go.
My point was, if the Eagles do the Eagles listen to offers for Miles Sanders with him being 2 years left in his contract, and you're in a rebuilding mode to get some type of compensation for him now, rather than risk him leaving in a couple years or not panning out or whatever.
Okay, so you said 2 years, and I'm pretty sure Tom may agree with me on this one. I would go 3 years because the motherfucker should have never took a fucking snap in the Philadelphia Eagles uniform once DeAndre Hopkins is on the fucking table for Miles Sanders. He should have been fucking traded in. He should have been traded in. He should have been fucking gone. And you draft J.K. Dobbins.
I wouldn't give him a right.
That's not a knock the booby. That's not a knock the Miles. But if that was a legit offer, sayonara, I'll drive you to the airport my fucking stuff. Because guess what? DeAndre Hopkins got traded for David Johnson, a lesser quality of running back currently than Miles Sanders, and they fucking still sat home and missed the fucking playoffs. Howie, you always fucking fleece Mike Tannenbaum. You're supposed to fucking fleece Bill O'Brien at the same time. Now nobody in the fucking league is as dumb as that. So guess what? But no, so I would definitely look up to answer your question in the state that you asked it. I would probably look on the move because, like Chuck said, it's like you can't invest money. Every team that you see invest money into that position, you probably never get that same production to what they had to earn that contract. Like, listen, Miami, they're probably about to fall into that fucking trap because they want to sign Aaron Jones. I'm so interested to see what Dalvin Cook's contract is going to look like because that's the next biggest one. That's the next biggest one right there. But will he still like it's very, very few and far between. That's why I say the test of time. The longer that this dude, I think we're seeing right now, two of the top 10, maybe top 5 running backs ever still play, and Frank Gore, Adrian Peterson, and they don't fucking get the credit that they deserve because they're not elite, considered quasi elite, but they're fucking valuable. You know what I mean? Like these dudes are still doing it 36, 37, 38 years old. Like I don't know how the fuck they're doing it. Like I would, if I'm running an organization, I'd have been like, okay, let me go get AP, draft a guy in the 4th. If I did draft a stud running back, I'm trying to ship him off before I gotta fucking sit there and pay him because you're never going to see that value of what that dollar is.
Yep.
You're seeing it in Dallas with Zeke already. You know what I mean? Better yet, you saw it with Le'Veon, and they fucking feel like they got a deal. He said out of here, and he's never been the fucking thing. So
I would wait at least 1 year. I agree with Chuck. I would say if he doesn't pan out after next season, then maybe try to shop him. If you don't think he's going to live up to the hype to that big contract, trade him in his contract year. Because if they move on from Sanders this offseason, all you're going to hear if Hurts doesn't pan out is that they took away the only weapons he had on this football team. I would say of course, we expect him to get rid of Alshon and D-Jack. I would say if they get rid of the only running back and the only a real playmaker on this team with Miles Sanders, this fan base is going to be livid. And I'll say the pan out, then they might say, hey, he didn't have the weapons around him, we're going to keep him, and then we're stuck in this limbo with a quarterback that we do not believe to be a franchise quarterback. So I'll say I want no excuses for Jalen Hurts next season if they go with him as the starter, that we gave him the best available team at quarterback. If he pans out and excels and be a stud, great. If not, then we need to move on from him. So I'm not ready to move on from Miles, even though I know some fans and some people brought up about the idea with them being rebuilding mode. But I wanted your guys' thoughts.
Yeah,
so,
I would have moved on with. I would have moved on with him last year, where the value was highest, where you're actually going to get the best player at his position, right, in football. So that's the time you pull that trigger if you're going to pull it. Now, like to me, it doesn't even matter right now to even talk about trading them. Like, you know what I mean? Like now it's almost that situation where you just wait till you get there. Now, you know what I mean? You wait till you get there, you make that decision on where you're at as a football team when that time comes. I know it's like a cop out, but now I just hold on to them. Like now I just I had that chance, so I'm never gonna get that value again unless he goes off, and then if he goes off again. Right, where that value is back on the table, then maybe it's a conversation that you have. But that just depends on where you're at. Like last year's a perfect time to move because you're going to get, a number one weapon for your wide receiver. For your quarterback. So this would be a different scenario where you're already in rebuild, retool, whatever the horseshit they want to call it. So might as well just hold on to him.
Yeah,
see what it becomes.
And you guys know I'm like a huge Miles Sanders fan. He's my son. I would have shipped him out for Hopkins. Yeah. And I said that last year. I would have traded him for Hopkins. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I keep seeing Texas boy, BOII. That's how you spell boy in Texas.
Apparently.
Getting whatever the screwed and chopped and screwed, whatever the fuck it's called. Riding dirty, shit like that, Chameleonaire, Mike Jones fame, all that shit in Texas, you know what I mean? UGK, Pimp C, rest in peace. But he's saying trade Fletch for a first. I would be the first one to say it. I don't think you can get a fucking first for Fletch. If you can get Fletch, sign me the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'll put 2 hands up.
At best, you're getting a third, if that.
Maybe a second at best.
Getting a first, yeah.
Late second.
If that. Yeah, I'll say there's definitely going to be a lot of revamp with this roster. I'll say they're need to get desperately under the cap. I'll say they're roughly about $40 million. I know there's a lot of scenarios and ways to try to get under, but honestly, they just need to blow up this entire roster. If they're not planning on winning or contending next season, get rid of all the freaking dead weight. I'll say get rid of these high contracts.
They might be delusional to think that they can. That's what's messed up. Like we know that chances are they're not going to be a winning team. They probably aren't going to be a winning team. At best, they might flirt with 7 wins, 6 wins, maybe, but they're not a winning team. But Howie and Laurie might be convinced they might in their mindset be like, we can still win.
I don't know if they're convinced. Just for the fact for that press conference, the fact that they said that it's essential they're in the rebuild, and the fact that Lurie chalked up the whole salary cap issue as a loss this offseason. He basically said he's wiping it clean. He's not even going to worry about it. He knows they're in cap hell and that they're not going to be able to be much players when it comes to building this roster, at least through free agency, which is also another reason why I feel the Eagles probably are going to move back with this pick. I would say just for the fact, I would say, can they afford a top 6 rookie salary deal at this point? I would say, I know there's not too much between maybe 6 and 8 or 6 and 9, but it's still probably a couple million that they can save on the books, especially towards the future, not knowing what the cap's going to be in the next couple years. I would say that's why I feel just from those statements from Howie and from Lurie in that press conference, I don't know if they feel they're going to contend, and that's why I feel it's going to be a little bit of a leeway and a little bit of a long leash with Sirianni and the way this roster is built, because they're going to have to completely revamp this entire roster, and that's the one thing that's going to be concerning. Do we have faith in Howie Roseman to do a rebuild and revamp this roster? Because as Sirianni said, it's Howie's job to build this roster for him for game day.
Yep.
Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, good points. I mean, you could be right. Maybe they do realize that this is a long-term burn. I'm not saying they're not going to try to win, and if they try to win, I would say in this weak division, that's what scares me. I know we're talking about the division being as crappy as it is, which scares me because they might squeak away to win 6, 7, 8 games and win this division and completely mess up our whole freaking draft stock. And what happens if Carson Wentz tears his knee or gets benched or whatever, and they only end up with a 2nd-round pick? We might not be drafting a quarterback next year, which is a whole different story and not something to worry about right now. But lot of ifs.
But like you said, that's a very good point. When you talk about the cap situation and trading back, and then we're saying getting more picks, they probably won't keep those picks because they don't have the cap room to be able to sign all those picks. I mean, you have to look at obviously Alshon Jeffrey being cut in the near future. Obviously, I hate to say it, one of the greatest Eagles of all time. You probably have to look at maybe Brandon Graham getting traded or getting cut because it's the fucking cap hit, and they need to shed. They need to shed it. They need to shed it. That's the most perplexing thing about Jeffrey for me in this whole offseason is you can't do the things you want to do to the team, and yet you want the guy who put you in this situation to be the one to get you out. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, if he pulls a rabbit out of his ass and gets him out and they find some success, what was the lessons that Howie really learned in that point? Like, how do you still trust this dude? You know what I mean? I've seen tonight, we've been on one side of the fence, people in the chat have been on the other side of the fence, but we have one thing in fucking unison. Howie's a fucking issue. We've had that in unison.
And Lord,
the issue. That's one accord. There's no agree to disagree on that. We all agree on that one. You feel what I'm saying? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's a shame. It really is a fucking shame.
I don't know what else to say after that. I mean, Laurie too. I would. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about Howie and Laurie because I don't want to get like I'm trying to move forward and be positive with it being, the free agency is coming up soon. That's exciting because there are a lot of good free agents, even though I know the Eagles won't be players in it. Like I'm just trying to like as an NFL fan, free agency is coming soon. I want to see the movement. The draft is it's draft season. Trying to be like excited for this offseason. And every time I think about Howie and Laurie, it just makes me really mad.
Right.
So I'm not trying like, Lord.
That's what I'm saying. You want like we just seen more draft capital, but to do what? To pick who? Remember, the same person we're talking about as we sat here. We all talked about for a good first half of the show. We all talked about what they should do at 6, right? We're talking about them doing the same thing that for Hurts that he couldn't do when he tried to do it for Wentz, regardless of who the fucking quarterback is. He tried in his mind when he did that second round pick in 2018, I believe, and it was DK Metcalf or JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He said in his mind, JJ's the better player. Let me draft this guy over this guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you almost got to sit here. That's why I said at number 6, you don't pick up this high, so it should be easy for him to make this pick because you don't have to sit here and overthink it and try to get too fucking cute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what he did. Can they afford to pay the pick? Right? Well, can they afford not to take it?
Right.
Like there's like that the double-edged sword there because of who it is.
Yep.
And that's the sad part. Like you should trust your organization to be able to trade back if you know what I mean. And still get an impact player. But, I mean, the guy has proven that over the last 3 years that's not going to be the case. Staying, going up, whatever. You could even say since 2016. I mean, he's the one who went up and then signed him and then didn't want to keep him. So it's all him. This is all him. It's all him. You didn't even trust the guy he went up to number 2 for. I mean, so I don't know what else how else I can trust anything that they're doing?
Yeah.
Until they prove otherwise.
I know. It's really difficult. Really, really, really difficult. I know.
We're not in this position if we just hit some stuff.
We're not even saying fucking be. You don't even have to be 50%. We're saying be 33%. Just hit on 1 out of every 3 picks that you've had. Then you're not in this position. You feel what I'm saying? Like you're in a better position. But when you're going fucking batting like 150 from and I understand you look at draft records, teams that are considered to be good drafting teams, their percentage may be 25 to 30% of the draft picks that they hit on. Maybe their players stay with the team and get that second contract. I would love to see what the Ravens, what the stats is on the Ravens and their draft picks, because they always fucking seem like if you get drafted by the Ravens, you're getting a second contract with that team and you're staying with the team. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just how fucking good they are. That's why they stay so relevant. That's why they can have a bad year, transition from a Joe Flacco to have Lamar Jackson in the following year fucking win the MVP. Yeah, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but I mean they kind of that's a true retool where this needs to be a fucking rebuild because we tried to retool with veteran players and it didn't work. This is
a really interesting comment, and I'll get to it, but I want to piggyback off of what you said. It's like this draft. Howie, Laurie, I don't care who it is. The Eagles organization, they had 2 problems, and I've talked about this before. That 2017 draft was horrendous. If there was a lower letter grade than F, they deserve that lower letter grade. That was so bad. That draft, 2017. 2018, 2019, not only do they not have a lot of picks, but they don't hit on the early ones. So 2018, you trade back, you get Dallas Goedert. Great, good pick. All right. 2019, Sanders, okay, good pick. But then you followed up by skipping out on DK Metcalf for JJ Arcega-Whiteside. And then 2020, you have in the second round, you have all of those players available. So much talent that fell. You go and get a backup quarterback. It's these issues early on in the draft, because I still stand by the fact that I think that the organization does well later on in the draft of getting solid players, solid prospects, but they don't do a good job of getting the stars. the elite talents. They don't find the studs, the foundation, franchise type of players, and that's the issue. And Mike Grimm, this comment to me is interesting. At least he says scouts told Howie Roseman DK Metcalf is the real deal. Howie doesn't listen to his scouting department. I've heard from a lot of reporters that we trust here at A2D that are reputable and they're not like the clickbait guys, that the scouting department as a whole, the Eagles scouting department is a good department, and that's why you get those good picks in the later rounds, because the later rounds, that's where the scouting department shines, and that's where the GM and the owner kind of defer to the scouting department. But the problem is Laurie and Howie, they have their own agenda when it comes to these early picks, and they fall in love with these nonsensical selections and prospects, and that's what the problem is that we talked about the Reagor pick, right? And the rumor was that the scouts said Justin Jefferson, but the coaches, Doug Peterson said that Reagor was the better fit for what they wanted to do, and Howie and Laurie went with the coaches. They ignored what the scouts said, and they did the same thing with the DK Metcalf pick. Yep. So they have to stop. If that's the case, they have to trust their scouting department more. And that's on Howie, that's on Laurie. Stop thinking you're the smartest guy in the room.
Yep.
And leave it to the guys who get paid, who are knowledgeable to do this kind of work, to set that draft board. And so I have a big – as I started to learn about that, I'm like, damn, that sucks, because I want to trust this Eagles scouting department, because now with the bad drafts that we've had, they get a bad rep because everyone assumes that our scouting department sucks. But how are we supposed to know if they suck or not if Howie and Laurie have their fingerprints on all of these bad picks in rounds 1, 2, and 3? It's unfortunate, and I wish they would just stop. Just stop with believing that they're smarter than the scouting department. Leave it to the football guys. Leave it to the guys that know football.
That's why you bring them in. That's why you hire them.
Yep.
That's why you hire them.
I don't know. You seen what the Sixers did, and we just saw the Sixers play. We kind of, if you've seen this looking off screen, not trying to take attention away from the fan, but Sixers with a big win tonight over Dallas. It was a 20+ point win. Second stringers played pretty much the whole fourth quarter. You've seen what they did. They found themselves in a rut, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but the Sixers ownership, who we killed for years, just said, fuck it, let's give really good basketball guys in here and trust them and see what the fuck happens. And we're seeing the fruits of that labor so far up until the halfway point of the season. And I don't know, man. You get those people where they don't change until the rug is pulled out from underneath of them. Like Howie in 2016 was forced to change. He was forced to change in 2016. He should have been fired from the team, but he wasn't. He was relocated, and then he came back, and it's like, bruh, now he's back to being fucking comfortable again. He really is. Like, you've been with the organization for 20 years. You really feel like you have autonomy. Like, you really feel like, okay, I can do this. I can. It's like getting grandma's recipe, right? It's like getting grandma's gravy recipe, right? I'm not talking about brown gravy. I'm talking about red sauce. For those who aren't Italian, spaghetti sauce. You get the gravy recipe, and you get the recipe, and you fuck it up once because you dibble and dabble. It's at Thanksgiving. Nobody eats the shit. All right, you're not making the shit next year. Then you come back the year after that, fucking on point. After that, on point. You start dibbling and dabbling again with the fucking recipe. Certain things you just don't fuck with it. It's tradition. You don't fuck with. You don't mess with the recipe. Don't meddle in that shit. You know what I mean? And Howie is a meddler. Howie is a puppet master who doesn't listen to he pays these people up to do their job, and he still doesn't listen to them. He still don't listen to them. So I don't know what the fuck. With all that being said, at the almost 2 hours of conversation, with that being said with Howie, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do at 6. It'd be a shock to me because I didn't know what the fuck we were doing at 53 last year, and this happened to be Jeremy Chin's name just came up. I didn't even plan that shit, Chucks. I didn't plan that at all. So.
Oh, Chin was my guy.
And now the safety cupboard now, the safety cupboard now is even barer than what it was last year when Jeremy Chin was on the board.
I know. Well, there's one safety. There's one stud safety in the draft so far from what I've seen. I haven't looked at much of the other guys, but I like Trevon Merrick from, oh God, I hate to say the school, but he was the defensive player of the year. He won the Blitnikoff Award. Was it Blitnikoff?
No, Blitnikoff's the receiver.
No, but that's receiver. Sorry. Which one's the one?
Butkus?
Butkus. Is it the Butkus Award? He won an award for the conference's best defensive player that year in 2020. It's at safety for TCU.
Wow.
Do your homework.
Okay.
And watch Merrick. He's really, really good. I mean, he's to me he's like a early second round pick.
Okay.
So I mean, again, guys can make fun of my evaluation of wide receivers after I wanted Reagor, but hey, I wanted Chin, and when I see a safety is another position I love.
Yep.
I wanted Chin, and look how good Chin turned out to be. Merrick is really, really good. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. It's like Moehrig. I think it's
Moehrig.
I think I've heard Ben Solak say Merrick, but maybe he pronounced it wrong. But yeah, that's the safety I'm the highest on. He's my safety one in this class. He's like he's not as fast, but similar type of game like Earl Thomas, I'd say.
Hopefully he has a better than Thomas. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Jake we need a free safety so bad. Oh God. I know we're coming up on close to it, but if you guys have any other quick hitters, doesn't have to be Eagles, doesn't have to be football, can be anything. But final thoughts before we say goodnight.
Prayers up to Tiger Woods, man. I mean, I'm glad he's alive. There's very few athletes that I feel like transcend sports, and if that accident would have been a lot different, I think I mean, as much as I play golf when it's golfing season, I probably play it 2 or 3 times a week. It's constantly on my mind. Like as soon as it starts to get warm out, the sun stays up past till like 7:00. I'm at the driver range. I mean, and then how I got into the game and what he's done for the golf industry in itself, but just for people of color, for something like that. And then it hurt to hear the assumptions. Was he drunk? Was he impaired because of his history? And it's like, listen, man, this dude could have lost his life. You know what I mean? Golf is a game. You know what I mean? He could have lost his life. And to deal with the injuries he has now, like the guy's been through a lot. Because, I mean, for a very introverted person, lived outwardly for so long in the public eye. Think about that. He's 46 years old, and he came on the scene when he was in 1997. That's almost next year. That'll be 25 years ago, and he's been out there for the public eye to criticize, to praise, to knock down, and now this is just something it's been through it all: character issues, physical issues, and now this. Prayers go out to him. Speedy recovery. Be with your family. Be with your kids. And if you can get back to the level that you played at before, that's fucking fine. If not, we'll remember you as one of for me, the greatest golfer of all time. That's just me. That's all I have.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree
more. Jeff, you got anything?
No, I'll say hell of a show, fellas, and thanks to all the listeners and followers, comments, tuning in. So we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love you all. Can't thank you enough. It gets tough talking Eagles at this point.
We're not even in the official offseason yet. The official offseason doesn't start for another 2 weeks.
Especially for you, you're on every show. So obviously your Eagles talk is well dried up by the time we get to our show.
Hey, listen, I get it. I mean, I love talking Eagles usually. It's been tough though. It's been tough, but we thank everybody because people love it. People love the Birds. So you know the deal. Front page news, no matter what. Even when they. So listen, you got the hockey happy hour coming up here in a minute. Stay tuned. Turn your alerts on. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit the subscribe. This has been Birds of a Feather, only on A2D Radio. We've been brought to you by our doc. Make him yours. That's Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill locations. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com, as well as bodycheckwellness.com. Use promo code A2D at checkout. Get yourself 20% off. For Tom, Chucks, Pete, Jeff, Cromer, who wasn't with us, still with us. All right. We love you all. We can't thank you guys enough for listening. And make sure you turn on them goddamn alerts.
Because we got shows every fucking day. Sauceman Otto, new sub. I see he says next week with the sad face. Don't worry about it, baby. We'll be back tomorrow, Fan Friday. Fan Friday, you can get yourself on this ask in the chat. They'll send you a link. You can hop on for 10 or 15 minutes. Don't come with those soft shit, though. Don't do it. I advise strongly against it. So hockey happy hour next, but there's shows every day on the A2D platform. Every day.
We out on that note. Like